Well, welcome again. Today I have all to myself Gerald Jones. Nobody else is here. And Gerald is going to give me some of his thoughts because, in fact, we are celebrating the fact that you've been here for 40 years. And the church, I don't know that we're celebrating, but we are recognising the contribution of the church overall in KIRKMICHAEL. So thanks very much for coming.
Pleasure, thank you.
So we've done a wee bit already on the chat of the history really of the church, and maybe we'll try and get a bit more history of the Kennedy connection, maybe when we get a chance to speak to Lord David. But
yes.
I don't know, you can maybe just summarise that. The Kennedy connection is big, really, isn't it?
Kennedy connection significant, yes, very much so. And one of Lord David's ancestors, in the days when there were heritors that looked after the parish chats, heritor was a kind of caretaker, as it were. Every congregation had a group of heritors. Heritors and elders. We only have the elders now, but heritors generally were responsible for property. And it was one of Lord David's ancestors who was the instigator behind the building of the church here. As I said, it dates from 1787. Obviously, the planning of it preceded that year. The Earl of Castle's, Lord David's ancestor, was very much involved in that process. And the link with the Kennedy family has continued right down to the present day. The family loft is this one here, which they occupy. It has been occupied on particular occasions relating to family circumstances and so forth. And Lord David himself is our treasurer, and has been for about 7 or 8 years now. He's an elder, member of the Kirk Session, very active and very much appreciated in the congregation and in the wider community.
This is fairly typical. You have a laird's loft, and you mentioned in a previous interview about the T plan, which is typical Presbyterian or Protestant.
Typical 18th century Church of Scotland.
Church of Scotland, and always had the laird. I have mentioned that, and there used to be stairs leading up to that, which we'll maybe get a chance to film. Now they, unfortunately, are not in use because they're quite dangerous.
Yes, the condition of the stairs is hazardous, might be an understatement. But nevertheless, the loft is still there with the two doors because the vestry, present vestry, was their retiring room. So between services, they could go from the loft there into what's now my vestry, where there was a fireplace and possibly had something to eat. Whatever.
So that's what a vestry is, really.
A vestry officially is a place where a minister would robe and disrobe, so on. It would be a kind of private room, as it were, within a church for the minister.
That's interesting.
Some churches have brought vestries from upstairs, downstairs, and maybe screened off an area like this over here, and created a large vestry with almost like an office, even put computers in the minister's computer. I know one church where the minister goes to his vestry to do his computer work. The layouts have changed with changing times, but here the two doors in the loft, one for entry from the staircase and one to give access to the vestry behind, which was would be their retiring room, the family's quiet room they could go to.
Something else which wasn't mentioned when we were thinking of the building was the bell, which, they have started, I find it very useful because I know that if the bell starts ringing, I'll be late. It's usually about 10 minutes before the start of the service.
That's right, yes. There was at one time a discussion about the bell, and somewhere I think it was minuted at 10:15 to whatever. I think the minute said, the minute in the session book said something about ringing the bell 2 minutes before the service started. It was to stop people rushing in When the bell stopped suddenly, it still gave them time to, to get there.
Rushing in, yes.
But during COVID, the bell ringing was suspended in case it compromised social distancing. If there were people walking up the street socially distanced to a bell ringing that suddenly stopped, they could, in their mind's way of thinking, decide to run into the church, fearing that they were late and it would break the social distancing that was imposed on people outside it.
It is worth remembering the big influence that COVID has had.
It was incredible, and still has.
On the church.
Indeed, very much
on the
so.
church, and the fact that there was social distancing within the church. You weren't allowed to go, or you had to not sit apart in the pews and everything like that. That has made a big difference to, I'm sure, many congregations, but this one I think particularly, because people just, in a way, almost get out of the way of the routine. That's my opinion. And I don't know whether you agree with that.
No, that's very true, Noreen. It caused a complete disruption, and even in this church, radical changes to attendance and where people would sit and how they would sit and so forth. And we had to disinfect hymn books after every service and wipe all the pews and the table
you would
here.
Never believe it.
It was unbelievable, the code of practice that we had to do in order to have a service which was cut down to half an hour maximum with no hymn singing.
Yes.
Because it was believed that the singing of hymns, that singing of anything would bring out water or particles which could be infected.
Yes.
But we survived.
Thank you for that.
Right, but it was still never came back.
That's background in a way, and I've taken advantage of you being here just to go over one or two of these things. But back to you, because we're concentrating on you now. You have given us a wee bit of background, of your story. If you just repeat that for us, just when you came and your background, and know what you meant with Glasgow University. And I mean, why here? Is that beyond? Is that out with your control?
No, possibly. It might be better to give some background history. I was born in Irvine. I'm Ayrshire. Born in Irvine. The maternity hospital was there.
That's good.
No other reason. Born in Irvine, but brought up in North Ayrshire in Kilbirnie, which in my early days was a thriving country town with the mills, Knox's mills, internationally renowned for linen thread and so forth, and also the steelworks in Glengarnock. Nearly everyone in the town almost had some connection with Colville's, Colville and Sons, the steelworks which were in Glengarnock, and all that's gone, and the town has suffered depression since. But I was brought up there and went to school, primary school in Glengarnock, secondary school in Dalry for 3 years, and then back to Kilbirnie for the new academy, Garnock Academy, for 2 years. These three places have been demolished. I should say that it seems to be a fact of my life that everywhere I have attended or preached or whatever has closed or been demolished or whatever, and I hope that my personality has no reflection on the demise of those places.
That's a very interesting thread, right?
I went to Glasgow University. I left school at 17 and went straight to Glasgow University. I graduated with an honours degree in 1978. Under the old regulations, a student for the ministry could spend up to a year in another university, which of course taught divinity only. So that would be St Andrews, Edinburgh or Aberdeen. And I elected to go to St Andrews for a year, and they invited me to stay on for another year. So I had 2 years at St Andrews, but had to come back to Glasgow to finish a divinity course, which I did in 1982. Thereafter, I was appointed Peter Marshall Scholar at Princeton Theological Seminary in New Jersey. I had almost a year in the United States.
Excellent.
And spent about 4 weeks of that time in Canada.
So how was that then? I mean, going as from I'm saying a wee boy, but you know what I mean.
It was quite something at 17 to go to Glasgow University from Kilbirnie, a country town into a city. I was completely lost. And I remember sort of at the end of the first term thinking, should I stay on or should I not? Well, I'll do 3 years. I'll do 3, but I didn't. I did 4, and then I did 2 in St Andrews, and then I come back. Did 2 in Glasgow and a year in America, so 9 years in full-time study.
Oh my!
9 years in full-time study.
I think.
But before I went to America, they had to appoint me to a church to learn the technique, or the art of ministry, as it were, and pass assessments and so forth. But it had to be done before I went abroad. At that time, there were maybe half a dozen or more churches in Scotland where you could have what's called a 2-year assistantship, where you would stay 2 years, and after the first year, they would ordain you to the ministry if you sent a written letter to the presbytery. They would ordain you, which you normally wouldn't get till you went to your first appointment. And I did that. I opted for that. That was fixed up before I left to go to America, so that when I came back on the 5th of June 1983 from America, I started in Glasgow, I think the next Sunday. It was just a time to get home, get acclimatised, and then straight into the 2-year appointment there. I was ordained after a year at Glasgow as a minister of the Church of Scotland with full ministerial status, conducted weddings in the cathedral and all other ordinances of religion that we are required to do.
That's a beautiful cathedral. I mean,
beautiful building, yes.
Beautiful.
When you work in it, you don't get so much time to see it.
No, but,
I saw more of it after I left than
beautiful. I mean, that would be a bit of a contrast.
It was a bit of a contrast. I suppose I've never had a member of the royal family sit behind me here, but I did in Glasgow Cathedral. Took part in a service with the late Princess Margaret, and she sat almost diagonally behind. Basically, if they put a chair behind where you are now, Noreen, she would be there with her lady in waiting. And there were 7 of us. There were 7 ministers in the procession that particular Monday. She was the honorary patron of the Scottish Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children, and they were having an anniversary service in the cathedral. And all I can say about Her late Royal Highness is that she was an excellent singer. She had a lovely soprano voice, and she liked her polements during the sermon.
So there's a wee rustle going on, is there?
Her lady in waiting was rustling the polements out her handbag. She was putting them into her mouth.
Is that what a lady in waiting does? Unwraps your polements.
Yeah.
Very good.
So I've gone from a royal occasion to, I mean, not being socially snobbish, but it's a different context.
Yes. Context. I mean, it is a community, and I think the community feel is big, really. And I'm not say not only do you get one church, but you get 2 for your money.
You get 2 for the price of one. The ironic thing is, you have asked for a funny story, and I'll bring that up shortly. But yes, there's 2 of everything and 1 of me. But there's a vast difference between a suburban ministry, a city ministry, and a country one. Because in the country, you know the people. Yes. And they know you. Yes. You might know them, but they'll know you. Yeah. People speak to me, and I have no idea who they are. But the bond between the congregation and the minister in the country is far closer than it is. In Glasgow, for example, when there was a funeral or a wedding, which I had to take charge of, it was done by phone. Although I broke the rules, the conventions, and went to visit people in Kirkintilloch and Lanark and all round about. But basically, the previous assistants were in the cathedral sort of mode of taking messages over a phone and not necessarily going to see the people and so forth, because they were all spread out over a city that almost became impossible. But down here, you have that intimacy, which in a larger context you just couldn't have.
As I said earlier, you've got a great memory. I know that from our history chats, and also you know everybody. You have that knack of knowing everybody, which is a very important thing, really.
It is important. It is important because in a larger context, you don't know a person. You can have someone sitting over there in a church that holds 1,500. You don't get to know them as a person until you've been to see them.
Yeah.
Here, it's no problem because I've been in every house in KIRKMICHAEL, I think, except two. I've actually counted that out. I think there's 2 houses I've never been in.
I'll not ask why.
I'm frightened, I'm scared of their dogs. It's a totally different relationship.
Yes, yes.
And you're a community figure. You're not just someone who is attached to a church and goes around in clerical clothes. You're someone who may be chairman of another committee within the village, or a member of it, or a trustee of something, or you go to the gala day, you have what's called a ministry of presence.
Oh.
You don't need to do anything religious. A ministry of presence, just to be there and be seen. And that brings the church into focus in a small community, that it doesn't have the same effect in a larger context.
Yeah, which I'm not sure that applies, when you're looking at potential closures or anything like that. That's maybe bringing up dodgy subjects, so I'll leave that for a minute or two. So you got then to could you just explain to me, and this is just for my information, how do you get appointed here? I know that in Northern Ireland it was a big process, and there was the congregation involved, and they listened. Do you have to perform here? So excuse me.
Yes, I'm about to be 40 years here, and in 1984, 85 it would be, there was a special service in Glasgow Cathedral for something. Can't remember what it was. It involved 4 or 5 ministers, and we were in the sacristy taking our robes off, and the moderator came over to speak to me. I knew Roy quite well. And he said, "Well, Gerald, what are your plans for the future?" And I said that I was interested in a link charge. And he threw up his arms in horror. I'll never forget it. He threw up his arms in horror. "Avoid it. Leave it alone. Withdraw now. Finish it. Forget it." He said, "You'll never last."
Oh.
Never last. 2 churches and out in the country, and one of you and 2 Kirk sessions. He said, "You'll never survive."
Oh. That was
later,
encouraging.
so
Well, he proved him wrong.
Was ironic because he came from a country village near Castle Douglas. He was born and brought up there, but he had been minister in a church in Glasgow for many, many years. He did everything to discourage me.
Yes.
And, well, he's still with us at 96. I don't know whether I should write to him and say,
By the way,
I made it.
I think you should.
I
think you should.
I had several irons in the fire, and there was possibly an expectation among some that I would be pursuing a more academic career. Right. Having spent 9 years in study, the opportunity was there. But no, I had done enough, definitely done enough. I had 2 or 3 options open to me. The Church of Scotland at that time, every month, sent out a sheet of paper with all the vacancies on it.
All right. It's like schools.
Yeah. And I have a very strong family connection, dare I say, in public. I did public media. A very strong family connection with Straighton. My great-grandparents lived there for 25 years. My grandfather, who was the youngest of 10 or 11 or 10, something like that. He was born and brought up in Straighton and was baptised in the church where I'm now the minister. So there's always been a connection, but I suppose they were connected with KIRKMICHAEL as well. It wouldn't just be isolated up there. So I've always known this area. It's always been known to me. I knew KIRKMICHAEL, I knew Straighton, I knew the district. And when I went through the list, I can remember it was in the morning I arrived and the mail came sort of mid-morning, and there was the usual monthly things from Edinburgh, and I looked at it and thought, something clicked. And I thought, that's interesting, Straighton, KIRKMICHAEL. I wonder. And I kind of wrestled with it. And there was a certain time by which you had to submit an application. Yes. And there was someone you could phone, an interim minister here in Bolton. He covered. I contacted him and asked what it was like. So basically, and he told me what his opinion was. And he said, you're a young man and there's an older person there. You might find some difficulties, challenges, and so forth. But he said, come down and see me, and I'll take you down and have a look at it, which I did do, which led to the formal application, which led to me taking a full service in a church in Largs. There was a minister in Largs away for a holiday who was a friend of the minister of the cathedral. And I was sent down to Largs, and it was an opportunity for the committee from KIRKMICHAEL and Straighton to come to Largs.
They came to Largs to see you.
That's where they first clapped eyes on me. So blame Largs for anything that...
I'd love to see the checklist. You know,
well, to add to what I said earlier, the church in Largs closed last year. So I even closed the church in Largs for this place. The committee interviewed me in the vestry afterwards, and the beadle there, church officer, when I came out, I thought, what a gorilla. He said, you've got it. I said, how do you know? He said, you've got the place. He said, don't you worry. I said, how do you work at it? He said, because you spoke their language. I said, really? He said, you were speaking away to them, that's what they want. He said, you'll get it.
Well, that's encouraging.
Well, fair enough. Then maybe, about a month or so later, the committee here obviously had met. I think I was one of 7. And they cut it down to one of 3, and then it went down to one of 2. But eventually, I was asked to preach before the whole committee, and that was at Coylton.
Oh, why do they not use the? I wonder why they don't use the KIRKMICHAEL church.
They do that. That's your last.
That's the last
grilling,
one.
yes.
Right.
So the whole vacancy committee arrived at Coylton. Sunday morning, I was down there, and the minister at Coylton then. His daughter had been married on a Saturday, so he was keen to get Sunday off. So it suited him to get me to take a service. And his last words were, before I went in to get started, he said, don't just stand up and announce the first hymn. He said, look round the church. Look at the people. He said, they'll establish contact with you. He said, you'll get a charge. Oh, I said, Dick, away you go. He was a great one for comedy. He had a great sense of humour, tremendous, and I thought this is one of his wind-ups. No, he said, seriously, he said, go in there, have a look at the people, take your own time and get started. Well, I did that. 8 o'clock at night, this was mine.
Really? Oh my.
Well, it was mine in
that
the sense
tip worked then.
I had to go preach before the congregations in the September, but that was a sort of formality, and the rest history. Well, so there you are.
Excellent. Thank you for that, because that is fascinating. I've always wondered. I wondered behind the scenes.
It's terrifying, I can assure you.
Obviously,
you're under examination.
Yeah, I wondered what you had to do.
Were you footloose and fancy free at this time, or did you already have a wife?
No, I was wifeless.
Wifeless.
Yes, I was wifeless at that time.
How did that happen then?
It happened because she sat in the wrong seat in Straighton Church for 5 years. I married a girl out the congregation at Straighton. She had connections with the area. She was living in Ayr. She was involved in dentistry, of all things, which terrifies me to this day. And I don't know why I married a senior dental nurse, but never mind. She had other qualities. But no, she and her father and mother and her sister were members of the church at Straighton. Her father was a sheep farmer and had a small sheep farm between Straighton and Newton Stewart. Janet lived in Ayr in the bungalow to which they eventually retired. Another funny story connected with that, when I came here at first, I tried to get round everybody, or as many people as possible, in, just my own time. And when I got to their place, which I think it was 9 miles from Straighton, I was away down the road to Newton Stewart. You'll pass it if you go down there. Waterhead was its name. Small sheep farm. Her mother had a wee tea room there at one time. And I got down there. It was nearly a year after I had come. And it's the day that they were retiring, and the house was empty. And they were about to hand back the keys to the owner. It was rented. They were about to hand back the keys to the owner in Newton Stewart, and I arrived about 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning to an empty house. And it just stood, she couldn't even have me seated. She couldn't make tea.
Get a cup of tea?
No, I didn't get a cup of tea. She was upset about that, never got a cup of tea. And she spoke about that for the rest of her life, basically. But the funny thing is, I said, what's your new address? Because I had a book, had a directory of everyone's name and address in it. She said, 150 O'Mellington Road Air. I said, right, 150 O'Mellington Road Air, 150 Road Air. And she kept repeating it till I had sort of got it into my mind. And there were steps that you went down from the back door, and my car was parked there. And she shouted back, and thanked me for coming. She said, remember, 150 O'Mellington Road Air. She said, we'll maybe see more of you there. That was her last word. We'll maybe see more of you there.
Okay.
And 6 years later, I married the daughter. So there you are.
Very good.
An amazing, a comment thrown away. That,
So it was 6 years, I remember.
Yeah, 91. It was 6 years here
Very
when we
good,
got married.
very good.
But,
Very good.
as I say, Janet became a member of KIRKMICHAEL when we got engaged, which was a Sunday. It was Easter, 1990. And she had by that time become a member of here. She's a member of both, and so am I. So
yeah, very good.
that's been it. No, that was
Running?
another issue. Do you offend one parish by being married in the other? That was all well thought out, and the option 3, the compromise was that we were married in the church where Janet was christened, and that was Carsfern, which is just beyond O'Mellington, down the Castle Douglas Road. We were married there. But I was put in I've been in awkward positions all my life. I was put in a difficult position whereby we knew a minister, each of us separately, before we came together, that we wanted to do the service. But you can't just go and appoint someone else to go and marry them. You have to say, excuse me, can we borrow your church for it? Anyway, I happened to know the minister at Carsfern slightly. He knew me by name. And I remember rehearsing a script, and I phoned him one morning. I said, John Gerald from KIRKMICHAEL here, your neighbour. Oh, yes. And eventually, after a circular route, we got onto the subject. And I said that we were getting married. And he'd seen the engagement in the paper. He knew who the girl was. Was there any chance it could be in your church? And, oh, yes. I said, I suppose you'll have someone else in mind for the... You see, he made it easy. Do you have some? Well, I said, there was someone. Granted, he said, you have the church, have your minister, have a great day. But he said, I wouldn't do this for everyone.
Oh,
He
there
said,
you go.
I'm giving you exceptional permission, basically.
Very good.
So that's how we got that.
Kept everybody. Well,
Yes, that kept everybody
but happy,
Yeah,
more or less.
That was it.
Fantastic. So, so you were on the old what we filmed in the old months.
Yes, I stayed 5 years in
and then you moved into the newer months. So that's handy. In terms of, I've got down here, obviously your community involvement, and we got an idea of that earlier. The different jobs and responsibilities. Now, my mother, who was a bit of a joker in Northern Ireland, she said, "Oh, I don't know what you're talking about. You only work 1 day a week." So that was. But I appreciate this was her joking because she got on very well with the minister, and they didn't take offence because he was a bit of a character. So, but your jobs, obviously, you've got christenings and weddings and funerals and all various bits and pieces, apart from the other meetings and boring old stuff that you have to go to, which is no doubt increasing more administration. But have you any wee stories? I know you enjoy the christenings because, in fact, I find them quite emotional myself. You know, the christenings, and you take them round and let everybody have a good. Because there's always a good crowd, and the relations are all there to have a look. So it's, I mean, it is a nice occasion. It's a lovely occasion. So as you were talking earlier about the cradle roll, mine, of course, we're on it, which is one of the reasons I want to keep it from getting lost. But you said when we were doing the cradle roll that, I mean, they weren't allowed really for, was it for, not security, what would it be? For,
the Data Protection
Data
Act
protection, thank you, data protection.
The church had to comply with certain sections of the Data Protection Act. And there was a church in Troon had to remove these. It had about 6 of them and put them in a place where they weren't conspicuous.
Yeah.
In theory, or perhaps in practice, I should get the permission of all these people to have their
really?
names up, but we
Okay.
don't. Until we're... I better watch what I'm saying, this has been filmed. We haven't yet done so, and nobody has asked us to do it.
Yes,
So, but it does come into data protection, but we're certainly not, how can I put it, taking notes of names that are on it and spreading them around or anything like that. They happen to be
interesting
there,
the way the red
they're
tape
there out
goes.
of interest rather than, the red
Isn't
tape's
it?
got rid of.
It's
It's
you
got
know,
rid
for
of
all
it.
the security and all the rest of it.
It's got
And then
unbelievable.
see the weddings, the weddings that take place, and I know you do a lot of weddings, but do you record? Is there a sort of book of weddings or something like that taking place in the church, or what way is that?
I keep a record of everything basically I do. I keep every year, at the end of every year, by the January of the next year, but at the end of every year, you're issued with a form, a statistical return, the annual statistical return, whereby the number of baptisms, the number of funerals, the number of weddings have all to be recorded. Only the numbers, not the names. No, there's no names or anything.
In this particular church, or by you in this particular
Yes,
church?
that's to be kind of divided up. If I was off and someone else did it, that's recorded in another column, but that's never happened. But yes, they've all to be recorded and sent to Edinburgh to show that we've done something.
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting the way people come back to
Yes,
the church.
I mean, I'm on to the 3rd generation now. I married your grandparents. So
Yes,
I
know that feeling from being a teacher.
Yeah,
It's
remember when I
scary.
married your granny and grandpa?
It's scary.
It is scary. It is, Noreen, yes, indeed.
Yes, indeed.
When you see someone that you cradled in your arms at the font over there, and a few years later they're waving to you out their car that they're driving, and you're like, goodness me, where have the years gone?
Yeah, so Christians and weddings, and as we said earlier, we've used Blair Juan as well,
Yes.
which was a nice venue.
Yes, I haven't done a wedding there for some years now.
No.
There are other celebrants and various others now who can take services
I think they're
without
focusing,
a minister, and
yeah.
I think they're perhaps being more highlighted in roles that we used to have. I mean, we had the automatic right at one time to walk into a school. Parish ministers could go into a school and take assemblies and whatnot.
Really?
Now we're allowed in under the Education Act. We must be in, I think, 4 times a year minimum.
Is that it?
Right. And it's at the invitation of the head teacher. So the law has changed there. And the same in a hospital. We could be ejected from... I literally asked to leave a hospital if we were going in as, let's
Selling.
say... Yes, evangelising.
Yes.
You know, if I went in thrashing a Bible in the middle of Station 9 at your hospital,
Yes.
caused a disruption or anything right out the door. But that's not going to happen, but that's the law.
Interesting,
That a very, very good friend, university friend of mine who's in this area, and he and I are in touch quite regularly, and he was a chaplain to a hospital, and he said that when he walked over the hospital door, the moment he went in the door, he was under the rules of the National Health Service. When he came out the door, he was under the rules of the Church of Scotland, and the two didn't necessarily tally.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
so we don't have the, I don't say authority, but maybe the opportunities.
No, because there are other opportunities
Yes,
for patients or
exactly,
families or
yes,
whatever. I know they have the choir sang in the...
That's right, in the chapel.
In the chapel.
Well, you see, that's done away with.
Oh, really?
They don't have services there now. It's not even called a chapel. You don't call it that. It's a sanctuary.
Oh, right. For any religion,
Yes,
supposedly.
it's a sanctuary.
You can't be deemed to be
And all
calling
these
it...
seats are away, and stored somewhere, I would assume. But it's a sanctuary.
So it can't push Christianity
Exactly.
as such.
Exactly.
Right?
I have referred to the crematorium at Mason Hill. The main part where people are is the chapel. You leave the chapel, go by the foyer. I'm informed it's the service area.
The service area. Yes. New titles for...
New titles for a new age.
For
But,
being PC. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
I don't think you can teach this dog new tricks. So I'll just keep it to what it's always been.
I don't know, Steve, whether you can think of any funny stories or anything. I mean, Christians, you always think, is she going to cry? Is he going to cry? And, and some of them are, obviously, if I was the parent, I would be filled up with milk or something, so they would be solidly, wouldn't move. But it never works out right, because there's always, it doesn't necessarily work out right.
No.
One or two surprises.
I've had some surprises. The most amazing surprise, really, it wasn't really a surprise, but it was a happening. Wasn't actually with the child, it was with the godmother. The child I should take in the left hand, its head there,
right.
Child here, and I administer the water in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Yeah. Amen. With the right hand. But she was standing there. The girl had got it the wrong way around and had the baby this way. Oh. And I'm whispering, and she got into a fankle. She threw the child in the air. I managed to catch it. Oh, I mean, it wasn't high up in the air, but she just kind of lifted it up, threw it at me, and I had to catch the child quickly.
Catch the wind.
Did you not think when you were a young
No, I didn't. We're always delighted to welcome visitors in this church to any of our services, but we've had visitors of an unusual nature, an irregular nature, have come in not to attend the worship, but to make an intimation. And they've come in that door there. And those to whom I'm referring are couriers of tourists. But what you are, Noreen, tourist guide. Sorry.
Well, so I'll bring my next. In fact, one of my friends, he goes round Presbyterian churches. That's his forte.
Well,
I wouldn't say I'm in that league.
Well, we had a lady. I thought she was a dear hostess. She came in the hymn before the sermon and walked down the aisle and was heading towards me, and she was dressed in tartan, and she was from Urquhart's, I think. I think they wore the tartan outfits and so on. Who are you? She said, could you possibly ask your congregation whose car such and such was parked at the corner there? You see, they couldn't get the bus round that corner because of the vehicles. So after she had gone and left a scent of perfume behind her, I had to say something like, would the owner of the Vauxhall, whatever it is, registration number so-and-so, please go out this door of the church and shift it. We had that. There was an occasion where there was a christening, and I was about to take the child in my arms, and a man came in there swearing like a trooper. Because he couldn't get his Arctic round the corner because of a car that was parked at the cottage there. And an elder sitting down there threw him out the door. Got him out the door and into where the bell is to get him out the church. But there's a hollow sound in the stairwell, so it was louder. And I grabbed the baby quickly to try and distract the attention of the congregation away from this clown. Anyway, we got him calmed down. And then there was another Sunday, my mother was here, and she was sitting about 3 rows in front from the back. There was people there. It was in the middle of a prayer, and they just about collapsed because a chap who again had trouble with a vehicle, he picked up a brick or a boulder from the churchyard and hammered the door. And I'll be perfectly honest, it was like gunfire. I've never had such a fright, and I'm in the middle of a prayer, and you hear this like that, and it was late Billy went out. He was told what to do. So I had a bit of that. Let's say I had to rush into the next hymn fairly quickly to drown out the sound of that. So you wouldn't get that in a city, but you get that in the country. You have to be prepared for anything.
All right.
You have to be prepared for
Yes, well, when you have children, of course.
Yes.
And I mean, early when my two were very small, it was these pipes. See the pipes?
Oh, yes.
The number of shoes that have been burnt in these pipes and Wayne scalded underneath. And plus, you have a plastic bag with their toys or whatever it was. And so, what's that smell? And it was them burning. And the number of times that has happened, those pipes get so hot.
What they do?
I think there was a wee notice maybe went up after that, or later. But that was used, and they were down as children do, down on the floor or whatever, and there they were burnt. or else they melted the plastic bags. I'm not looking for compensation. I'm just saying that these are highlights when children come to you. You're very good at involving the children, of course, and some of them are very good at answering as well.
Well, I've had some wonderful answers
yeah.
from children.
Yeah,
and
I know.
on one occasion I had a lump of ice with me, sort of block of ice. It was to do with the warmth of God's love melts the hardness of our hearts, just like an ice cube melts in the warmth of the palm of our hand, and so on. And it began with asking children what you would do with ice cubes, and there was one in the church that Sunday morning. I put mine in my gin and tonic. Of course, his mother was horrified. I've had some amazing answers. I mean, it was actually, he's obviously observant. You can always talk your way out of these things.
The children usually, that's spontaneity, that's quite good. So, just finally, really, unless there's anything you want to say in particular, Gerald, obviously your job's changed, or you've said you must be recognised for your 40 years. It's absolutely amazing. Well, I've been in this village now 47, so I've got everywhere, but I wasn't the minister.
You were lucky.
Although I must confess, I did meet the Reverend Moffat.
Oh yes.
So anyway, I'll leave that to another day, that story. But so you will have seen all the changes.
Oh,
We've hinted at that with the group earlier and all that,
so.
and. I don't know, obviously it's a bit early days for me to ask you, what your plans are and all the rest of it. You just wait and see, I think, is what happens with it. It is unfortunate, and again I want to acknowledge the fact that the church has got a black mark over it really, and this planted closure, which has been a big blow. I think maybe now people in the community, in the village, realise how important the church is now that it's a bit late. I hate to say it, but I think everybody be shame this and shame that. So I'm expressing my opinion, but I think it's the opinion of an awful lot of people in the village. For loads of reasons. For loads of reasons.
This came about for various reasons. COVID gave the Church of Scotland a very bad decrease in numbers, in attendance, and in money. And almost to a crisis stage. I think it was 18 million or something. The deficit the church faced was colossal. Something had to be done. And the way around it was that every presbytery prepared a plan for the future. And the plan that we came into was the former Ayr Presbytery, which is now amalgamated with the Presbytery of the South West. But some sort of plan had to be drawn up. That was one of the reasons. Another reason, we are a rare breed. There are few people, there are not enough people coming forward for the ministry to fill the vacancies that have accumulated over the last 10, 15 years or so. Again, ageing congregations, declining congregations, church buildings becoming older and needing more attention, fabric-wise and so forth. The maintaining of them. £500,000 would go nowhere in here. So what happens is that larger parishes are created. In my opinion, if I'm allowed to make that public, in my opinion, they're creating parishes which are not manageable. When I depart either this way or that way, or even that way, when I depart, KIRKMICHAEL and Straighton congregations will be united with the new charge of North Carrick, which consists of Kirkoswald, Maybole and Crosshill. They united on the 1st of June last year. They're now known as the North Carrick Parish Churches. KIRKMICHAEL and Straighton will go into that grouping, but it can't be done when I'm here. Yes. Cannot be done as long as I'm here. There is a committee, it has representatives from KIRKMICHAEL and Straighton on it to choose effectively my successor. But the successor can't do anything here without my consent and can't do anything more official than perhaps just turn up and make himself known until I'm away. But that's the plan for the future, and there will be a parish of North Carrick which will cover the whole area right down to Turnberry from Dromellington. And then south of that, there will eventually be a parish of South Carrick with one minister for each region. The country churches probably will be reduced to a service once a month, whereas at the moment they're used to it once a Sunday in KIRKMICHAEL, Landon Strait, and Maybole probably will be the centre of gravity of the new unit, and they'll get a service weekly. The others will just be, unless they can get people within the congregations to perhaps take a service, give a short service of some nature.
Right.
That's going to, there's going to be very radical changes ahead of us.
Major changes.
Major changes.
Yeah. I mean, ironically, the Maybole Church is a combination of all the previous churches in Maybole to one centre, the Carrick Centre,
That's right, yes.
which is not a church.
It's the worship area.
The worship area.
The worship
it's
area.
Not called
You've
a
got
church.
to get the name right. It's a worship area.
A worship area. Yes, it's not a church anymore. No, because it serves. You can watch a film in it on a Friday night, and then you can. You know, so it is it's a community area as well as a worship area.
A very good friend of mine took her. Oh, it was her husband actually. Took her son to see something in the Carrick Centre, and were absolutely horrified. In fact, sent me a photograph of it. It was a wrestling match.
Oh, a wrestling match?
A wrestling match in a worship area. That sent me a photograph of the ring and the wrestlers in it and the cross behind it, sat on the wall with Christian symbols. Because it's claimed that it's for public use and it's a public building, and it's only a worship area for worshippers on a Sunday morning. So, it'll be interesting.
Oh well, that's good. But I mean, I don't want to end in the negative. But so I mean, give me a positive. Just let's leave it a positive.
Right, well,
give me a positive.
Well, put it this way: I have stayed longer than what, strictly speaking, I needed to do, and could have finished just over 3 years ago, and didn't. There were, at one time, well, until maybe 10 years ago or so, there were categories into which ministers were placed and had to retire or were expected to retire in a certain year. When I was inducted in 1985, I was given certain privileges of employment, which have not changed. And I've had that confirmed from Edinburgh, that my conditions of employment have not changed since my induction and cannot be changed. Either I change them by resigning, or the General Assembly of the Church of Scotland has to change them, but they can't do anything with me until I decide. Last year I contacted Edinburgh once again to see if my position was still safe. And basically, yes, I'm paid by Edinburgh for as long as I want to remain here. The ball's in my court. I've done the 35 years minimum for pensions. Everything's all deferred until that day. And basically, I make my own time.
Yeah.
And
what power you yield, eh?
I have enormous power. The power that I have been given has actually increased. The power of others has decreased.
Yes.
That Leslie said to me, Gerald, she said, you stay on as long as you wish. Give us 3 months' notice when you feel that you've done enough. Just give us 3 months' notice. Don't bother with anybody else. Just a letter to Edinburgh. She said, if they chase you out, we need a month. We still need a month if they're going to chase you out. If you have to go in a hurry, we could do it in a month. But she said, the time's yours. And she said, don't worry about your age. Just carry on. Till somebody says anything, just carry on if you're happy doing it. And to be truthful, Noreen, we are. And I do have a big birthday coming up, not immediately, but I want to stay till that's my next target. I want to do the 40 years, then I would like to do the big birthday, and then we'll see after that.
Yeah.
So I'm not in a hurry.
No, good.
I'm not in a hurry.
Well, on that note, I think we'll finish, and can I just thank you once again, Gerald.
Not at all, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you for sharing.
I hope I haven't depressed the production.
I think we've enjoyed the personal...
yes, I like to talk about my work, and I hope that, just to finish off, I hope that the way I present myself shows the enthusiasm that I still have for it.
Yes,
because
I think we all
love every bit of it.
Yeah.
And I've been very grateful to have the 40 years here. It's been a wonderful experience. I have had kindness much more than I deserve. Those whom you spoke to in the chat interview were right. It's a very welcoming community, so is my other church at Straighton. And I've been very, very happy here, very fortunate to have been here, very privileged to have ministered here, and if I had to do it again, I would probably do so.
Right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Not at all.
We can
Thank you.
easily change that little memorial to "We shall not be moved."
Well,
thank you very much.
Does that help you? Does that give you some?
Do you have anything that you haven't told us that's a funny thing or a fond memory that hasn't come into the conversation that you've had?
I could tell you maybe one or two funny things,
Go
but
for it.
maybe not for recording. Because the people concerned are still
Still
concerned.
There's no point in doing it, because if it is, I mean, you didn't have to talk about names of anybody.
Small village people know things.
Well, I know, but these things, well, if they're really funny.
Well, I think one of the funny aspects of the ministry generally, and that has applied to Glasgow, applied to down here and anywhere else I've been, there are people who don't know how to respond to me.
That's normal.
And if you go to a wedding reception, as I tend to do, I've maybe cut down a bit in that over recent years, just for age reasons, I suppose. If you go to a public function, like a wedding reception or some other social occasion, people don't know how to address you, or they feel they either talk to you non-stop and it's all about their church, it's all religion, or they avoid you.
Yeah.
I mean, I managed to get a seat in a train from Glasgow to Ayr because I was wearing a collar. When I get in, they get out. I was left 3 seats, empty seats round. It's great, you get a seat in a train. But there's always this impression, even when you visit people, and I'm not talking about Noreen or anything like that, there are some people, maybe for the first time or second time you go and visit them, they think all they've got to talk about is religion.
Yes.
They don't seem to think a minister's a human being.
Yeah,
I'm interested in history and archaeology and all sorts of things. They don't seem to think a minister is human. That it's all religion. It's all about the church. Having everybody's church connection, or why they go every week, or why they've never been for 20 years, or when they fell out with the Boys' Brigade. And all that. I don't want to hear about.
I think they're trying to put on a good impression.
Yes,
I think.
yes, I think so.
I'm not a religious person whatsoever, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've met you now a few times who've been fortunate enough to be involved in this.
Yes.
Simple as that. You're a good.
Well, thanks very much.
So, you were busy telling us this story, come on, yes.
Oh, yeah, Rona's not going to...
No names.
That's when, not in this church, it was a wedding service that went wrong. Not terribly wrong, wasn't the service? It was partially my fault and I should have been more observant. It wasn't in this church, but I was in a vestry robing. And the ushers came in a state, 2 ushers, and said, we're giving out the hymn sheets, there's a problem. I said, what's that? Well, the hymn sheets were about that length. When I looked at one of the hymns had 6 verses. Oh, I said, well, we can see why it's, longer rather than broader. I said, what's the problem? They won't stay in the pews. They keep sliding. Because they're so long, they're going over the edge of the lip of the pew and onto the floor. So I don't know what you can do about that. Anyway, I was getting robed at that time. And in the room, on top of a filing cabinet, there was a guillotine. One of those old things. And I said, try that there. The very thing. So they guillotined all the, to make them shorter. And they come back in. Well, that's great. That was a super idea. They cut off the last 2 verses of the first hymn. And the organist's copy was the original. So that when the congregation came to an end at verse 4 or something, he carried on playing to silence until it was finished. Well, at the end, I have never seen any organist so enraged in all my life with the removal of his gown. It got a thumping on the floor and threatening letters to the Kirk session and all the rest of it. I said, I just happen to be covering for the minister that's here. I don't care what you're doing. They get into rather a state of high blood pressure, a state of hypertension. But it went wrong. You see, a simple thing like that.
Well,
Again,
these are stressful occasions. I mean,
Well, they are,
I'm saying
yeah.
of our weddings, and somebody wants it absolutely right. If they're involved in it,
Uh-huh.
that's my explanation. Not that I would be the same, but I'm just saying that everything, even Chris, everything's.
Mm-hmm.
They want to make sure that the child isn't going to cry. They want to make sure that everybody's looking well.
Yeah.
Somebody's hat isn't facing the wrong way or something. These are such stressful occasions.
Oh, they
that
are,
they
yes.
get.
People's nerves get
Uh-huh.
frayed up. And I think that reached its summit again in the same church. I said to the chap when he came back from holiday, I got all the mistakes and disasters and things. I said, that's why I go away. I said, no wonder. This particular occasion. Now, it had been rehearsed on the Thursday night. And this is a Saturday. About 300 people at a wedding and stand for the vows. And they thought the I do easy, better than repeating. It was rehearsed, as I say, on the Thursday night. Do you promise to do this, that, and the next? I do. The bride, I do. And I said, that's right. You join hands and went through the procedure. Came to the date, and I thought nothing of it. And it was groom first. And I asked the groom the question, do you promise to... Silence. I thought, oh, sweat started
Changed his
to go
mind.
down. It's going down my neck. What's happening to him? I looked at him, stared at his eyes, and I raised my eyebrows to see if, it would jog his way. He did that back to me. Now, what seemed like 5 minutes was probably 20 seconds. But all these people, they're all watching. You could hear a pin drop. You could probably hear my heartbeat. And then, when these low-flying jets used to go by, you could hear an intake of air into the engine first before the thing appeared. I could hear this great big intake of air and the chest expanding. I thought, what on earth am I going to get? And he's away out to about here, and he looks straight in my face. The eyes, I can see them yet. And he goes, ah! So I thought, signify aha as a yes. Right, the bride, do you promise to... Right, sit down. Kiss the bride and leave me alone.
He was just over to come
He told me he apologised profusely afterwards. His mind went blank.
Yeah.
He said the excitement of the moment, the people standing, and the service going, not quickly, but going at a pace through all the different things, he just didn't know what to come out with. He knew it meant yes, but he couldn't think the words I do or I will.
So you've only had one aha.
I've only had one aha. In all my 40 years, I've only had one aha.
You
Yes.
didn't have anybody fainting. I've seen that on TV, sometimes where a sort of bridesmaid or someone goes
Yes,
couch
there was a case in a church, not this one, Orstradon, a case in a church where I did the final prayer before the last hymn, I think, with the bridesmaids collided with each other, and a pair of them were going to go, and inside my cassock pocket I had a bottle of Dr. Mackenzie's smelling salts. Now, if you take a whiff of that, it just about blows your head off. I managed to unscrew it while I'm still praying to God, and did that, and got them composed. Oh, we can cope with all emergencies.
So that's what you've got in your good...
When Princess Margaret was at the cathedral, I think it was a 2 o'clock service or 1:30. We had to be over for about 9 in the morning to be searched. And the young policeman, there was a table, about 4 times the size, maybe twice the size of that, the board's there, where he said, I'm sorry, gentlemen, but there were seven of us were all men. Sorry, Noreen, it was all men at that time. We were told to empty our cassock pockets. He said, I'm sorry, you have to, and there's sniffer dogs going about, and all the rest of it. He said, I'm going to have to ask you to empty your cassock pockets on that bench, and I'll have to take away anything, a screwdriver or anything that could be a weapon. And so we emptied them, and got in there. He said, I've never seen such rubbish that ministers or other clergy are going around with. There were smelling salts, there was polaments, there were paper hankies, or all kinds of things. But you carried all that about with you. Couldn't believe it. But nobody got anything confiscated. They were allowed to take it back. There was nothing, nails or anything like that, or a screwdriver or anything that could be associated with
Your
weapons.
ski and do.
Yeah, exactly. This whiskey, or a hip flask, this is my brandy.
Very good, very good.
But no, it's the only time I had to search, to go through everything that we...
And if you'd had a brandy and near Princess Margaret, would it be mad?
Should have just said,
She would have been,
Madam?
she maybe had that in her bag.
Yes.
Oh, she may be well done.
Yeah, the protocol was to be called Her Royal Highness when you were introduced, and thereafter it was ma'am. or madam.
That's normal.
Yes. And you don't offer her hand. You don't go out and shake hands.
Oh, really?
You wait. She
see.
offers a hand. She offers her hand. And I get into a wee bit of a flummox there because of the noise in the cathedral and traffic outside, and the nurses in the Royal Infirmary were out the window, hanging out the window. It was their lunch hour to see the taxi coming in and so on. And the order of the clergy is to use the Latin phrase, juniores priores. It means the youngest is first. So I was first. And then all the others, a bishop and goodness knows who, all lined up there. That didn't matter. I was first in the queue. She's coming towards me. And, she offered her hand and mine back. She asked my name and I said Gerald Jones. She didn't catch the Jones bit. I said, Gerald Jones. Oh, right. She asked one or two things about my work. Moved on to the next person and had a word or two with the next. And the Provost of Glasgow was beside her. And he whispered into my ear and he said, it's a good job your name's not Armstrong Jones. She'd get a big fright because she was married.
Of course,
Jones.
that's right.
He says, it's a good job you didn't say you were Armstrong Jones. She would get a bigger fright, which no doubt she would have done. But interesting, I mean, you see someone like Princess Margaret on the television and you have an impression of her. When you see her in real life, she was a very frail, I would say a sad person. She looked very small, very petite, and I would say strained.
Was she?
She looked older than what she actually was. The impression that I saw in reality was different from the television.
A different angle.
Yeah, and that's been true of different people that I've met.
I think the television's got a lot to answer for because it doesn't give you an idea of height. It doesn't give you an idea of the colour of their hair or anything. It really just...
It doesn't. It doesn't. Her hair colouring and style was totally different from what was in the television. And very slim. She was very slim, dainty, sort of. But you could see she'd been through the mill, so to speak. She was strained. You could tell she was facially strained.
I take groups to Glams, and that was the Queen of Anne.
Yes.
She has.
And
she was born there, so I found out a wee bit about that through the. But again, I never was aware of her stature really. I mean, there are nice posed photographs available, but not.
Well, when you think about it, Queen Mum wasn't very tall.
No,
she wasn't. Definitely not. But she had a big hat that increased her size.
I remember they stood in high heels or something.
Are we